James Bond movie. Amen. Another time I'm asking you to raise your hand. Keep them ready. I may be asking even more. Many actors have played the agent 007. Roger Moore, Pierce Brosnan, I think one of the more recent ones was Daniel Craig. But to me, and this is just my own opinion, this isn't biblical truth. To me, I think the best one that ever played James Bond was Sean Connery. Amen? In all the movies, the character would always say, Bond, James Bond, license to kill. 007 was licensed to kill. That is, the law against murder doesn't apply to Bond, James Bond, because he's licensed to kill. So the laws of murder don't apply to him. See, sadly, many Christians have slid across the road from legalism into this trap of license. And their attitude is grace, under grace, license to sin. You might hear a message on holy living, but the problem is you're only shaken and you're not stirred. Oh, everybody wants to accomplish something, but nobody wants to do what it is to accomplish it. In other words, you're shaken by a message, oh, that was good, but it hasn't stirred in your heart to cause you to strive for Christ-likeness. You're checking off the box, and I've come to 26 Sunday services out of 52 in the year. That's good enough for me. Can I preach now? No, you can't. You're not licensed to preach. Look, when you hear the message, you need to allow the Word of God, whether it's from what you're reading or what you're hearing, you need to allow that to stir us into Christ-likeness. Let the message start to penetrate your heart enough that you would say, I want to be more like Christ today than I was yesterday. I want to be a little like Christ, if I could be like Christ. Right? Oh, everybody wants to be Michael Jordan, but who wants to be Christ-like? Everybody wants Michael Jordan's fame and Michael Jordan's fortune, but did anybody want to go through Michael Jordan's failures? Because he had a lot of them. No, just give me the high road. I'll take it because I deserve it. I'm good. I'm a go-getter. Yet you hear a message and it doesn't stir you enough that you would begin to change, not for the sake of rules and do's and don'ts, but the sake of saying, let me be more like Christ today than I was yesterday. And if I failed a little bit, God, would you forgive me? Let me open this gift once again of this thing called grace in my life. And I know you believe in me, Lord, probably more than I believe in myself. But if you're cheering me on, Heavenly Father, then I want to keep going forward. Let me be more like Christ today than I was yesterday. The Bible says in Philippians 2:5, have the same mindset as Christ Jesus. That we should have the same mindset of Christ Jesus. Strive for it. He's not expecting us to be perfect, not on this side of heaven anyway. But it's something we can strive for. Amen? Not to do the do's and the don'ts, and not to say I got to live as I want to live, but it's something that we can strive for. 2 Corinthians 3:18, it says, and we all who with unveiled faces, in other words, nothing's covering us up anymore, contemplate the Lord's glory. We are being transformed into His image with ever-increasing glory, which comes from the Lord, who is the Spirit. You may want to write those scriptures down because they're not on your outline. I've noticed those of you that are paying attention have actually wrote them because you don't see them on your outline. Yes, the pastor threw a curve to see who's being shaken and who's being stirred. License to sin is a disgrace to grace. Ooh, that's quotable. Somebody's going to put that down somewhere. License to sin is a disgrace to grace. In his book called The Grace Chuck Swindoll writes, and I quote, "The names have been changed, but the story is common. Lana met Phil in her freshman English class at the local college. Phil's natural charm and live and let live spirit attracted Lana like a moth to a flame. In other words, he was a bad boy. Everybody likes the bad boy image, but nobody likes to deal with the bad boy problems. And though she struggled with his flippant attitude toward their church's moral teaching, she was captivated by his interpretation of Christian freedom. Phil was fond of saying, 'Jesus set us free so we can explore life to the fullest. Not so we can be held back by someone's list of do's and don'ts.' Persuaded by Phil," this is still quoting the book, "persuaded by Phil, Lana spread her moral wings and flew into taboo airspace. There she joined a new flock of friends, saw new landscapes, experienced new thrills, and it all seemed so right, so free, at least for a while. After 5 months, the pleasures became oppressive demands. The scenery turned ugly and treacherous. Lana finally left Phil and cried out to the people she trusted the most, her parents and her pastor. Lana was a victim of freedom abuse. And like any abused person, she needed the warm embrace of love, not the cold finger of condemnation. They prayed with her and helped her to understand the meaning of grace and purity." End quote. That's all from his book, Chuck Swindoll's book, called The Grace Awakening. Paul writes in Galatians 5:13, "You, my brothers, were called to be free. Do not use your freedom to indulge in sinful nature." We're called to be free, but we're told not to use that freedom to indulge in sinful nature. We are born with a sinful nature, aren't we? Listen, I don't know if you've ever raised kids, but nobody has ever had to teach a toddler how to be selfish. Ever in the history of toddlers have we ever had to teach them how to be selfish. How to say, "No, it's mine." In fact, we've got to teach them how to share, because it's innate within us to be selfish. That kind of sin is in our DNA. When you come to Christ, the Holy Spirit comes to live in you. But guess what? That sinful nature doesn't exactly leave, does it? Yes, the Holy Spirit's there with you. We automatically think, well, the Holy Spirit's in me, then I've got no sin in me at all. There's a sin nature in all of us. We rebel against things. We want things our own way, our own time, how we want it, when we want it. We want our walk with the Lord to be on our terms, not on His. The sad thing is we can't even live by our own terms. A Christian lives in a constant struggle between these two natures, the spirit and the sin nature. We live in the midst of this constant struggle. I believe that when you come to Christ, God forgives every sin you've ever committed and every sin you'll ever commit. I believe that with all my heart. That He has forgiven every sin you've ever committed and has already forgiven every sin you will commit. So, if I'm forgiven, then why should I run from sin if I'm already forgiven? One word: consequences. There's a reason why we should not run to sin and we should run from it. It's this word called consequences. Forgiveness is God removing the penalty of sin from my life. The penalty of the sin problem is eternity in hell. God has forgiven me and removed that penalty. But as a Christian, nay, as a human, I still have to face the consequences of sin in my life. You still have to face the consequences of sin in your life. You know how I know this? I've read the Bible. And I invite you to read it too. Don't take my word. The reason I put scriptures on the outline is, so you know where I'm getting these fillings that I'm putting in there. But it's also for you to go back and double check it. Don't just take my word for it. Listen, if you're following me and me alone, you are not on the path you should be on. You need to keep your eyes focused on Christ. I give you those scripture addresses so you can go home and open your Bible and read it yourself. Amen? So I've read the Bible a few times. That's good to know since I am a pastor. Moses sinned against God by showing pride and disobedience. I don't know if you know that, but Moses sinned. Moses showed pride and he showed disobedience to God. He was forgiven. Moses is in heaven. You know how I know Moses is in heaven? Because at the time of transfiguration, when Jesus went up to the Mount of Transfiguration, and it was witnessed by Peter, James, and John, who came down from heaven to minister to Jesus, but Moses and Elijah. That's right. So Moses is in heaven, forgiven for his disobedience, for his pride, for his anger. He was forgiven. He's in heaven. But he sinned, and he suffered the consequence. The consequence was he never got to enter into the promised land on this side of heaven. That was the consequence of his sin. Numbers chapter 20 will tell you that. David sinned against God. King David sinned against God. Guess what? He's forgiven. He's in heaven. But because of his sin, David suffered tragedy and heartache in his family. 2 Samuel chapter 12 will tell you that. Look, take a hammer and nails and drive that nail into a fresh piece of wood. Something's going to happen. If the nail represents our sin that we commit, right? We drive that nail into the piece of wood. Now you turn the hammer around with the claw part, pull the nail out. The nail representing our sin, yes, it's pulled out of the wood, but guess what? It still leaves a mark inside that wood. See, the nail hole remains. Those are the consequences. Look, if you rob a bank, God will forgive you, but you'll still have to serve jail time. That's consequences. I know it's not football season, but let me talk to you about one of my daughter's favorite quarterbacks, Ben Roethlisberger of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Ben Roethlisberger, you know what? I don't know if anybody knows, he's the youngest quarterback to ever win a Super Bowl thus far. The youngest quarterback to win a Super Bowl. In 2005, he was interviewed on ESPN, and the reporter asked him why he would ride his motorcycle without a helmet. Ben Roethlisberger said this, and I quote, "Because you don't have to. It's no law in Pennsylvania. If it was the law," he said, "I would wear one. You're just more free when you're out there with no helmet on." Less than a year later, a car struck him while he was riding his motorcycle without his helmet. He was thrown into the windshield of the car, and he suffered massive injuries. He was in surgery for over 7 hours while doctors repaired his facial injuries and his head injuries. People don't know this story. From the hospital, he released this statement to the Steeler organization who invested millions into him and to all of his fans. And he said, and I quote, "In the past few days, I've gained a new perspective on life. But by the grace of God, I'm fortunate to be alive. If I ever ride a motorcycle again, it will certainly be with a helmet." That's right. Consequence. Well, if it were the law, I would have followed it. But since it wasn't the law, I want to ride free. Well, guess what the consequence of his free riding was? He came close to dying. Changed his perspective completely. Realized it was the grace of God that kept him alive, and then he actually began to do public service announcements for the reason to wear a helmet. Listen, we're not compelled to keep the laws of God, but it is a good idea to keep them if you want to avoid the consequences that come from rebellion. Isn't it? It's a good idea to keep them. We're not compelled to keep them. But it's a good idea to keep them if we want to avoid the consequences of our rebellion. So we've talked about legalism. We've talked about license. Let's talk about the third thing on the list. Love. The best evidence of God's grace is faith expressed as love. I don't have to live this Christian walk in a legalistic way and force myself into a bunch of do's and don'ts that I'll always mess up on, and every time I mess up I think God loves me less and He thinks I'm worthless now. Or if I live it on the opposite end of that and go, well, I'm licensed to sin anyway, so it don't matter what I do, yet I'm still making a mess out of things because of the consequences. Where do we go then? We can't live by legalism, we can't live by license, we must live by love. Some of you got it. We must live by love. The entire law, it says in Galatians 5:14, the entire law is fulfilled in keeping this one command. Love your neighbor as yourself. Legalism is a trap to the left. License is a trap to the right. If you want to progress in the Christian life, there is a better way. And Paul writes in Galatians 5:6, the only thing that counts is faith expressing itself through love. The only thing that counts is faith expressing itself through love. In other words, I obey God because I love Him. Not because of legalistic rules, but because I love Him. And in fact, Jesus said in John 14:15, if you love me, you will obey what I command. And I love how it says, for the entire law, do me a favor, grab your Bible, go to the book of Matthew, chapter 1. Okay? Those of you that have your Bible, you can do this experiment with me. Those of you that don't, you won't be able to do this on your phone. Okay, watch this, okay. So here's Matthew chapter 1 in my Bible, and all of this is the New Testament. All of this is what's called the Old Testament, which we were given the law. Right? So, the entire law, all of these, 39 books of the Bible, the first 39 books of the Bible is summed up in one command. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. It's all summed up in one thing. Love. Not do's and don'ts. Not license to sin. It's all summed up in one. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. And Jesus says the only thing that counts is faith. I'm sorry, Paul said that. Jesus says if you love me, you will obey what I command. What did He command? That we love one another. Amen. That was His command. That we love one another. The difference between legalism and holy living is all about motive. What is motivating us? There are 3 levels of obedience. Level 1 is fear. In other words, you obey God because you're afraid of what He'll do if you don't. You obey God because you're afraid of what He's going to do if you don't obey Him. Sounds like an abusive father. Level 2 is reward. You obey God because you want to earn more and more blessings from Him. How come everybody else gets blessings, but I get no blessings? How come I'm not getting it? How come they're always getting it? How come I don't get it? So your motive is reward. Both of those things are legalism. Both of them are legalism. If you're doing it because you're afraid of what He's going to do, or if you're doing it because of what you'll get, it's called legalism. Level 3 is love. You want to obey God simply because you love Him. And we're able to love Him. You know why we're able to love Him? Because He loved us first. It's the only reason why we can love Him. Because He loved us first. 1 John 4:19, we love because He first loved us. He showed us how to do it. I'll tell you a quick story about a woman who was married to a tyrant of a husband. They got married and they walk into their house for the first time, and he's not romantic in any way, shape, or form. He hands her a list of how she is to treat him